nobody cares what the blue collar.
Become the 47th president of the United States.
It's the biggest red wave I've seen since Ronald Reagan's 49-state victory.
There were appeals to racism in this campaign, and there is racial bias in this country, and there is sexism in this country.
Trump, once again elected to the White House, leaders around the world congratulating him on his historic comeback. But there is one leader who apparently has no plans to congratulate him. Russia's Vladimir Putin, according to the Kremlin.
When asked the question about why hasn't Vladimir Putin congratulated President-elect Donald Trump, he said, let's not forget that we're talking about an unfriendly country that is both directly and indirectly involved in a war against our state.
We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
And that kind of says it all right there. 35 days of shutdown, 35 days of trying to make your own constituency suffer. That's what the Democrats think of the people who vote for them. But what do they think of the rest of us? Well, they don't like us very much, and they call us all kinds of names just because we don't agree with their manner of thinking. In fact, oftentimes we prove that what they are thinking is pretty foul. And if you're defending Democrats right now, especially those that represent you in the Senate, I don't know why. But we'll get to that. We've got lots of commentary today. And look, I mean, I would love to see a cogent argument. I just haven't seen one yet. And you would think some of the smart people that work for the Democrats and that, well, almost indirectly work for the Democrats, that would be the legacy news media, they'd be able to come up with some pretty solid arguments, but they can't. And we're going to demonstrate that in several ways today. But that's not actually the biggest news. The biggest news, aside from Tommy Robinson actually beating out some bologna sausage in the UK, is the UK itself and the corrupt propaganda media that they call journalism of the BBC. You see, everybody knows the BBC is corrupt. Everybody knows the people running the BBC is corrupt because it's basically state propaganda, trying to reinforce some very bad ideas from Herr Starmer and crew. And it's indefensible. So what do? They attack somebody they have an enormous political bias against, the President of the United States. And today, some evidence surfaced showing exactly what the BBC did to President Trump's speech on the Panorama program, which severely edited it, presenting a incredibly biased video that was nothing like what the people saw in real time. And we'll get to that. We got to talk about the fact that according to CNN, the Democrats' brand is absolutely destroyed. It's in the basement, according to Harry Enton, who's the amazing pollster who tells it like it is. And by the time we get to the end of all of this, we'll talk about Gavin Newsom complaining about liar politicians. Oh, the irony of it all. And one piece of good news. Scott Adams made an appeal to the president and Robert Kennedy and found himself on the receiving end of some what could be very good news for him. making his situation more chronic than it is immediately fatal. Again, he was diagnosed with the same type of prostate cancer as President Biden. So, some good news on that front. We'll look at that in a few moments. But let's say thank you to our friends Mark Fields, who sends a $5 super duper chat, I think, or $1.99. There we go. My glasses are very dirty, apparently. Positive vibes to you all and beautiful roads ahead. I hope so. Hope everybody has smooth and beautiful roads ahead. Fair winds and fair sailing. We've got Ruby Hoove out there gifting 5 Culture Casino memberships. Thank you, Ruby Hoove, for helping stock the names in green. Look at that. And of course, a super chat from the first Dragon Queen who made me a dancing bear, which is amazing, saying review after lunch tomorrow and update. Hugs. Oh, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. Wednesday's one of the days I'm not streaming the entire day, only in the evening. So I get a little bit of a break, a little bit of a reprieve, and a little bit of an opportunity to make sure my garden is growing. For those of you who actually consider that something that is fun to do. I do, but that's just me. I want to say thank you to all of you out there who showed up nice and early. We had people over on the tube side, courtesy of Pro and his wonderful promotion and lead in. And of course, I want to say hi to the green team, because they are always here fighting for information like Low Spec Linux Gaming, a channel you should check out. Check out my friend. Jeff does a lot of work. He really does. And let's see, what else is happening? Well, Letitia James is in big trouble. I'm sure you guys all knew that. But I'm going to lead off with the story that was flabbergasting to me. Maybe it won't be so much for you. But I'm going to say the BBC is bologna sausage. And the fact that you are forced or extorted to pay BBC's license fees is ridiculous. For those of you who have to prove you don't have a telly, I really hope you're able to do that, because these guys are just tools. I want to make it clear, BBC's always been a state apparatus, and it's never served them well. In fact, all it's done is given more power to the parliamentarians who ill deserve it and certainly are apt to abuse it. And that's been happening for a long, long time. I'm sure my friends in the UK who are in the audience today can acknowledge that as a big piece of truth right there. So for all of you that are wrenching away, I want to say thank you. And to those of you who just showed up, like Mark's 47, thanks for being out there. Eddie Rodriguez, good to see you. We got the lovely Sherry. Sonder Hammerschlag, of course. And Big H. What's going on? Let's see. Who else we got out there? Ryan Lopez, what's up? And let's go. All right, let's get into this. The liars at the BBC lying, as if that's a surprise to anyone. All right, here we go. So glad my ancestors got the heck out of Europe. Well, there's that. And Read by Nature's in the house. BBC have been corrupt for a long, long time. This isn't the first time Panorama has been caught with their trousers down. Just look up their Tommy Robinson coverage. Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. BBC, you must watch Doctor Who. The people, we have other plans. They did. They all abandoned that show. It was awful. Disney abandoned that show. It was that awful. And let's get to it. Let's get to it. I'm going to share it right now. We have 2 pieces of footage here. One on the left, which is the BBC Panorama edit of the president's speech, and the original clip, which is on the right. We'll start with the Panorama edit, and then we'll continue on to the rest of this. And you weren't imagining that. That was somebody trying my door.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you. And we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the
Original
Capitol.
clip.
And we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
What's the difference between those two clips? Pretty wild. Would you say that the clip on the left from Panorama was misleading? Or would you say that the original clip somehow lost a whole lot of content and context? I'm just curious. Bananarama. Thank you for that, Marks 47. Night and day difference. Barry the Music Man says, you know what? You're right. It was night and day. 60 Minutes was more subtle. Boy, do I have some clips for you from Trump's most recent interview with CBS. We'll get into that. You guys are going to be surprised. Let me start with this. The president spoke for 72 minutes in that interview, and they filmed it themselves, which is now a practice that I think everybody's going to start doing when they're working with legacy media, because they're oftentimes edited and taken out of context. In the case of Kamala, they just tried to make her sound less like a word salad freak show and more like she had a brain in her head. But we'll continue on here because I think, like I said, I think you're going to be surprised to find out that even the BBC knows that they have questions to answer. Pam Epson says it's criminal, Culture Casino. Trump should sue the BBC. Well, you know what? It's not like that isn't some options that he's explored before, but it's rather disgusting. A good idea for my friend Low Spec Linux Gaming is starting a candle-powered lava lamp business. I think that would be great. I think that would be wonderful. I think I would get a candle-powered lava lamp. I kind of think those are cool, especially when they're on the Christmas tree. But let's take a look at the actual article from the BBC calling out the BBC. Yes, that article does exist, and it's right here next to me. BBC has questions to answer over edited Trump speech, MPs say. Well, yeah, Stephen McIntosh, I would say so. And I'm saying so right now. As you look here, the BBC has serious questions to answer. A cross-party group of MPs has said, following reports of a Panorama documentary misled viewers by editing a speech by U.S. President Donald Trump. The Telegraph said it had seen an internal memo suggesting the program edited two parts of Trump's speech together, so he appeared to explicitly encourage the Capitol issue and drove people there on January 2021. It's not what he said at all. The House of Commons Culture, Media, and Sport Committee said it had written to BBC Chairman Samir Shah, who is, a terrible, terrible person, to ask what action is being taken over the concerns raised in the memo. The BBC spokesperson, sorry for that, said, while we don't comment on leaked documents, when the BBC receives feedback, it takes it seriously and considers it carefully. They need to do all of the same. So Caroline Dinenage, I don't care, head of the committee, said MPs need to be reassured that those at the very top of the BBC are treating these issues with the seriousness they deserve. Well, clearly not. Clearly not. This made it out into the wild, and it's not a glowing endorsement of Panorama and the BBC. She said the committee was also looking to ensure the BBC was taking decisive steps to uphold the corporation's reputation for integrity and public trust, which it has not enjoyed for over a decade. And that's a big problem. Again, it's so easy to corrupt things like this, especially state propaganda media, which is all the BBC has ever been. The corporation must set the benchmark for accurate and fair reporting, especially in a media landscape where it is all too easy to find news presented in a less than impartial way. I think that's the only way the BBC presents news. Downing Street said Culture Secretary Elisa Nandy and senior officials in the Department for Culture, Media, Sport have received a copy of the internal memo and have been assured by the BBC and the corporation is examining the issues it raises. Well, I bet you they are. Distortion of the day's events. In the 1-hour program, Trump, A Second Chance, was broadcast last year. Yikes. And was made for the BBC by independent production company October Films Ltd. That stands for Limited, which has also been approached for comment. Oh, I bet they have. In his speech in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021, Trump said, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women." However, in panorama edit, he's shown saying, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol and I'll be there with you. And we fight like hell." Those two sections of the speech were edited together. They were more than 50 minutes apart, ladies and gentlemen. 50 minutes apart. Man, that's a whole 6-minute daily right there on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, yeah, absolutely wild. Yeah. Pam Ebson says, reassurance, what a pile of rubbish. They should be closed down for this. I agree with you. I worry because, believe it or not, the Canadian broadcast folks, the CBC, they're even worse. I weep for my Canadian brothers and sisters. This is just a hot bunch of garbage. According to conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, she said heads should roll at the BBC. Well, I would think that that's probably a little bit of a violent statement, but maybe not inaccurate in terms of the visualization there. So I thought it would be great to lead off with the Tim Davie mistake. I think the rest of you will agree. BBC's been in, well, much more capable hands, or at least much less inept hands or corrupt hands, or however you want to look at it. Not a big fan of this guy or anything else that's happening in the organization, but I don't think any of you thought that I was admiring them or anything they've produced. I think you probably have a sense of what I feel, but it's worse because guess what? It's being acknowledged by the Hollywood press. And when I say Hollywood press, I'm talking about Penske Media, which is basically all of the Hollywood press right now. And I'm sure they don't like having to call out their brothers in arms, because they're pretty commie over there. Because the BBC sparks MAGA fury. MAGA fury. Do I look furious right now? I don't think so. You guys don't look like that. And Deeple, I'm going to be going to vote as soon as I'm done with this show, believe it or not. This is insane. And Mars Monkey Max is correct. BBC will never do that. No, they'll never apologize and or follow up or correct anything. It's so true. And Ryan Lopez, you're correct. He inspired a nation. You had to vote for him a second time. Anyway, we'll get back to this. So BBC sparks MAGA fury after being accused of doctoring. Accused? I just showed you the video. You guys saw the video, right? Yeah. Accused. No, they definitely did it. Doctoring Donald Trump's January 6th speech. Oh, there he is. So the BBC has been accused by a whistleblower, of selectively editing Donald Trump's Jan 6th speech to make it appear as if the president was encouraging the 2021 Capitol riot. And let me tell you a little bit about that. That was definitely the sentiment around the world, which they were clearly being misinformed about what was going on. That was kind of a narrative that the mainstream here in this country was trying to hang, and it didn't hang very well because most people could easily disprove it. And even with him being removed from X and being blocked, and of course, anybody from accessing what he actually said or any of the videos and everything that were being shared, those are being blocked. the complicit globalist government tool bags that are controlling the intelligence committees and intelligence apparatus here in the United States were more than happy to shut it down and let the legacy media lie, which is the normal operation of business for these people. So, a formal external advisor for the BBC abroad took issue with a 2024 episode of Panorama in which the edits were made to Trump's remarks without them being clearly disclosed to viewers. No, it seemed seamless to me. How about you guys? It was seamless, those edits? So, Michael Prescott, a managing director at Hanover Communications, compiled a 19-page dossier about the incident and other concerns regarding BBC bias. His report was obtained by the Daily Telegraph and shared with all of us. I'm going to tell you right now, this is far worse than we could even imagine as far as BBC bias against the President of the United States. How can we hold our relationship in high regard when the government, the lapdog, the puppet, the BBC of the current English leadership is being so dishonest and misleading its own constituents, far away from what the truth would be? I'm very sick and tired of that. Anyway, if you want to go and read that, it's out there. It's in the Telegraph. Donald Trump Jr. actually posted it on X yesterday. The fake news reporters, and that's what I'm talking about, the fake news in the UK are just as dishonest and full of garbage as the ones here in the United States. And I can't stress that any more than what he did, except I probably won't use the language he did. In fact, I just didn't for reasons. But yeah, not a huge fan of the current media, the legacy media. I'm a fan of the new media. I'm a fan of myself, many others that are in my field, the folks over at That Park Place, the folks over there at G&G, who write about as unbiased an article, as they can. I just pulled a Whoopi Goldberg there, guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to burp at you. I wolfed down a bunch of pizza before I came on the stream. But the internal report is so, well, I'm going to use the word damning, that I was really beside myself. I went out and grabbed a bunch of news pieces on this because I wanted to talk about it with you today. But I have to ask, what's your feelings, my friends? I mean, we got Pam's filling there for a few minutes. And I'm curious. We got Maxi Dweebies. Oh, that's right. Maxi Dweebies. Man, I really wish they'd fix the name thing on here. But the BBC has to disparage Trump. They can't stand to see what he is doing with immigration and other things in the U.S. because they absolutely want to continue the globalist march to destroy your wonderful country, my UK friends. They are afraid of this happening in the UK. It should. I think if Farage has just a wee bit of strength, he might be able to pull it off. Macron is absolutely blocking free speech and an entire party because they're terrified of Le Pen. He should be called out on the world stage for being a giant wimp. I have stronger words, but I'm not using them. So yeah, TDS from across the sea, generated by a lot of false garbage from the BBC and other outlets. I'm sick and tired of it, to be fair. Juliet saying hi to everybody. Thank you, Juliet, for wrenching away. Deeple's out there. And this is a problem with, by the way, Randy Thodo, this is a big problem. GIGO is a programming acronym that we used for a long time, garbage in, garbage out, which means if you don't program things properly, you're going to get garbage on the other side of it when you're looking for output. And I'm going to say this, that's the other problem with AI right now. They use garbage in, which I would say is things like, oh gosh, Reddit. Reddit's quite garbage. They certainly shouldn't use Blue Sky or anything else because that's garbage in. You're only going to get garbage out. You're poisoning the well right up front, which is dumb. And the frame rails that were put on it early, especially by ChatGPT, by OpenAI, who's basically a commie operation, doing the bidding of Bill Gates, which should also give you pause when it comes to considering ChatGPT as an option. They're being a little bit more thoughtful over at Grok, I will say. But just real quickly, I'll just say that this other article, and this comes from the Telegraph, and this is the source of the matter, folks. If you want to find it, I don't hide anything here. I give you all the facts because facts matter. Here's the facts. Exclusive BBC doctored Trump speech. Internal report reveals corporation edited footage in Panorama program to make it seem president was encouraging a riot, according to the whistleblowing dossier. We've already seen the clip that's represented here. And Gordon Rayner, actually the associate editor over there, published this. The BBC doctored a Donald Trump speech. We already know that. The Panorama program broadcast a week before the U.S. election, trying to put disinformation out there for patriots that were living abroad or traveling abroad or working abroad. So it completely misled viewers by showing the president telling supporters he was going to walk to the Capitol with them to fight like hell, when in fact he said he would walk with them to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard, which he actually just said to cheer for the senators and Congress people that are working up on the Capitol. So the mangled footage was highlighted in a 19-page dossier on BBC Bias, which was compiled by a recent member of the corporation's standards committee and is now circulating in government departments and now out here in the real world. So the dossier said the program made the U.S. president say things he never actually said by splicing together footage from the start of his speech with something he said nearly an hour later, 50 minutes later, as a matter of fact. It claimed that senior executives and the BBC's chairman had ignored and dismissed a string of serious complaints raised by the corporation's own standards watchdog, which seems like a despicable pattern that they've been doing for quite some time. These are the kinds of things that make me say I'm never trusting legacy media again. And I would suggest to you that you never trust legacy media again. On that note, apparently we are doing this all over again where I'm stuttering for no reason, so bear with me just a moment. I will be right back.
James.
Well, so you couldn't hear him or you couldn't hear me? Because I don't know what's going on, but right now I feel like something's going on that's rather silly and nefarious. But as you can see, that was the 60 Minutes interview that Trump had just this last weekend. Again, this was 72 minutes long. You just saw a 49-second clip of the president speaking. And we'll play it again because I want to make sure you heard it all. Because I'm not convinced that you did. So let's play it one more time, because it gets worse than this. Okay, it's worse than them cutting out a segment like this to use as a clip to generate some pub for what they're doing, and to get a clip of him talking about the fact that he isn't seeking retribution, just he's going after people who broke the law by illegitimately using the Department of Justice and other mechanisms to attack. Yeah, going after the bad behavior in the government. That's kind of what you want, right? I want to end corruption. But again, a 72-minute video, or 73 minutes maybe. Well, I'm just going to show you the story. It was edited down to 27 minutes of spin by CBS, the network. They're always going to be compromised garbage. Maybe not always. We'll see. Perhaps things will change at CBS now that Barry Weiss is there. I can only hope. But if you take a look at this clip and this tweet from Bill Mitchell, White House drops full 73-minute uncut Trump 60 Minutes interview. You have to do that now. This clip is 113 minutes long. CBS cut it to 27 minutes. And guess what? This, again, exposes fake news. How many ads do you think were actually in that particular interview when you compare them side to side? What do you think? Can you trust them anymore? Probably not. Just Me says, so funny. They did Kamala's cuts to make her look smarter. They cut Trump's to make him look less smart. The media is so biased, it's not even funny. Don't dare call yourselves journalists. No, they shouldn't. Bill Mitchell said, you have to work hard to make Kamala not look like an idiot. That's not kind, but it's accurate. Watch whole 73 minutes. The whole thing is here in this tweet. And again, this was shared from Eric Doherty's account, who does a lot of hard work, and I use a lot of it. And again, it doesn't make the reporter sound super wonderful. And it'd be hard to get me to argue that she is super wonderful. So there's that. And it's just what we've got, which isn't good. What do you guys have to say about all this fake news, which is everywhere? I'm wondering. Did you see the BBC News when they faked Trump urging voters? Oh, I just ran through that, my friend. That was like the lead into this story. So thank you for that. But yeah, we got that straight away. Fat Laba. Yeah, we got that right away. Even our founders didn't think this republic would last. Well, they gave us a lot of amendments to try to help. So, L. Bird is in the house. Good to see you. Says, also, is it revenge if they did it? No, it's not. It's just. Look, you can't weaponize the Justice Department. You shouldn't. And if you do, you should be called out on the carpet for it. And everybody involved should be thrown out on their tail end and perhaps face criminal charges if they apply. If they did it, it doesn't matter. They broke the law. They go to court and likely to jail. Did you see the evidence they dropped on Comey? It was like a bomb. It's like, hey, Comey's not, Iran. Was wild. Jeff Elm says the editors earned their pay when they edited that Kamala interview. They certainly did. And Read by Nature says 60 minutes, much like BBC, was once trusted. But now it's easy to fact check them ourselves and list their history of deceit, which has been plentiful. And the networks gradually got consumed with corruption because people got to the anchors that sat at the desk. I mean, look up how many people that were network anchors that lied. Brian Williams comes to mind, and so does that what's his name? The Raffle? I forget his name. I don't even care. But that's the kind of crap we've been dealing with my entire lifetime. My entire lifetime. Tony Piacente says, I am sure it was a 27-minute attack on our president. It will take years to right the CBS News ship. I don't know. Barry Weiss, pretty effective. Lots of people bailing out by them own selves, to say that as sloppily as possible. But we're just starting to find out the depth of the corruption now, not just in news media, but in government, within government itself. And some of it, I wish I didn't know. Oh, no, you're perfectly fine. I'm glad you asked the question. I started that at the beginning of the show because I have a lot of folks that are watchers in the UK, and I appreciate that. You guys mean the world to me. Irish Camel says, yes, they gave us a great foundation. They really did. We just got to try to protect it now. We really do. Sander Hammerschlag says the BBC is full of fake news now about the shutdown. Yeah, I imagine that's true. We're going to get a little bit of a conversation about why the shutdown actually exposed more corruption, because it did. Pretty wild. Hey, is Staccato out there? I was just curious. Look at all these great people. I love it. Thanks for all being here, you guys. You really help. I really appreciate it. Snort's out there saying hi to everybody, including Weatherman, who showed up on the green machine. And Crouching Taylor, Hidden Swift. Good to see you, Matt G. Mark Daly out there says, Irish agreed. It's why I'm not anxious to dismantle the DOE. We should turn it against the leftists destroying education. I think that I think you've got to get the activists out of education, and I think it should be pretty easy to do if people are dedicated to do it. But here's another story we've got to continue into, folks. This is going to be nonstop today for at least 90 minutes, if not the full 2 hours. Just too much going on out there. The shutdown proves that the general Fed doesn't give no, they don't. They don't give a poo about us, Argentum. They really don't. Hey, fire chiefs out there. Good to see you. I work for the government. There is good deal going on behind the scenes. They are afraid of MAGA. Good. They should be. Citizens should be terrifying to the government. Maravita returned. Good to see you. I hope everything went well, dear. I'm going to worry about you. Prayers for you. Says, I will have to rewatch Gang. I feel like garbage from the infusion. Honey, I know. Not to have the brain power to listen tonight. Legacy media sucks. Yes, ma'am. And please get better quickly. Water helps if you can stomach anything. All right. Infusions are rough. All right. All right, let's get to this. Let's get to this clip. I want to show you something. Let me show you something. Almost sent you the ending. That'd have been funny. All right, here we go.
Madam Secretary, how does that happen?
It happens when you put a train wreck like Joe Biden in the White House, and it's going to be a lot of work to clean it up. But just in the last 4.5 years, we've had over 9 million people get Social Security numbers that are not U.S. citizens. So,
okay, what did she just say? 9 million people got Social Security numbers during the Biden administration. Let me reread that in a different way. Biden gave illegals Social Security. That's not supposed to be possible. How many federal laws did Biden break? Are the Democrats complaining about that? They should be. Those safety nets are for U.S. citizens, which is the same situation for healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP. All these programs, these social safety nets that are put in place by the more, socialist, communist version of people that work in the government, are not supposed to be there for illegals. I think everybody understands that. It can't just be me. Read by nature. I know we showed the tragedy last week of giving illegals that don't know English and aren't willing to assimilate into our culture access to the roads as commercial operators of enormous heavy vehicles. I think Gavin Newsom should be criminally liable for the deaths of those 3 people on that one day.
So they may be people who have some sort of legal status, but a lot of them are illegals that were given a Social Security number in just the last 4.5 years that we're going to have to figure out if they should be here, if they are here legally under a program. And if they are here illegally, then they certainly shouldn't be using that Social Security number to be on our programs, and they should be removed or given the opportunity.
Given the opportunity to leave of their own accord. And I would vote for leave. I think all of us would. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of this. But again, this isn't the only clip to share with you. I've got dozens and dozens of disasters out there. But it ultimately comes down to the countdown, doesn't it? I think so.
Trump involved in trying to whip some votes from Democrats?
Well, he was involved. Remember, before this all began, the 4 leaders went over to the White House. We sat across from him at the Resolute desk. Hakeem Jeffries was there, Chuck Schumer, myself, and Leader Thune in the Senate. And the president had a great dialogue. He said, give me your proposals, guys. Well, remember, they had just filed a $1.5 trillion demand for new spending, including giving $200 billion to illegal aliens to fund their health care again, to prop up NPR and PBS, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. They wanted to send billions of dollars back overseas to these crazy social programs in other countries. And the president said, well, obviously that's a non-starter. Talk to me about something that's real and reasonable. And they just stuck their thumb in his eye. So the president tried. He is the great deal maker, the art of the deal. He can negotiate the end of wars around the world. But he does not have enough with these guys to overcome their fear of the Marxist in the Democrat Party. There is a massive turn to the left of that party, and that's what's motivating them.
For the life of me, I don't know what's going on, but I will just say what I said right after the clip ran. Trump had already been involved, as the speaker explained, and what's going on doesn't seem to match up with reality. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I really don't. Let's see. This is crazy, guys. Freeze frame. Is Culture playing or a drinking game for every time he mutes? I did not mute. The stream's actually doing that to me. When I have to reboot, there's a 50-50 chance I will be muted when I come back. And it's not of any fault of my own. But I think Wilton, somebody suggested Wilton is in here muting me, and I think that's probably true. Regardless, they're terrified of the extremists. The speaker's right. They're terrified of AOC. They're terrified of Hakeem Jeffries and well, not Hakeem Jeffries, but I should say Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer are terrified of AOC. And I don't, like I said, probably when I was muted, I don't believe that Mamdani wins the election tonight, because if he does, New York City is doomed. But I think Cuomo is likely to take it away. And when I looked at it last, it kind of looked like it was leaning that direction. But it would be the worst thing in the world for the Democrats to be pulled that far left to the neo-Marxist side of the equation. And it would definitely divide this country permanently if the Democrats are aligned with the socialists. That's a problem. So when people ask questions, they should really know what they're asking and of whom. Seriously. But the speaker is always eloquent, and he really is somebody that, the Democrats should pay attention to, kind of for like how to speak around the obvious lies and gaslighting that Democrats have been laying at the feet of the Republicans, which isn't working really well. Let's take a look at a little bit more of the speaker. And I'm assuming you guys can hear me. I don't know for sure. And caveat ties is correct. Cuomo is trying to rehabilitate himself to eventually run for president. That would never happen. And he won't moderate. And he's still on the hook for killing a lot of old people. Somebody let me know if you can hear me. Dan Rather, thank you, Generic Burnett. I'm looking to see if you guys can hear me. It looks like I'm talking. Thank you, Weatherman. Okay, let's move on with more from the speaker, who, again, should be someone they should pattern themselves after. It was the ruthless, relentless pursuit and description of the truth from Speaker Johnson himself.
You go to the third one. False claim number 3, Democrats are fighting for health care. You've heard this over and over and over. Let me say something very simply about this false claim. It is the Democrats who created Obamacare. It is the Democrats who did that without any Republican votes. It's the Democrats who, by extension, have cost the American taxpayers and people who have health insurance have made their costs skyrocket. Yes. It is their policies that made that happen. And so instead of reforming it, the Democrats don't reform Obamacare. They want to subsidize it. They want to spend more taxpayer dollars. That, by the way, goes mostly to insurance companies, which makes the cost rise further. That's the Democrats' plan. When they passed Obamacare in 2010, they called it the Affordable Care Act. We know the truth is exactly the opposite. By some estimates, premiums have risen 60% in many categories since they passed that bill into law. Now, the fact is the opposite. Republicans are the ones fighting to save health care. Why? It's not just talking points to us. We do this. We have ideas, and we have already implemented ideas and measures to reduce costs, increase access and quality, and eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, why do we say it's not just a talking point? Why do we say the Republican Party is the only one advancing common sense reform solutions? Because we've proven it. We did that in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut. We took a look at Medicaid, and we took on that challenge. We took action to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicaid. We got able-bodied young men without dependents off the program. We got illegal aliens off the program, and we saved $185 billion just to start. We got millions of ineligible enrollees off the program, and it preserved it. It strengthened Medicaid for the people who rely upon it, which is the elderly, disabled, and young pregnant women, as we always use as an example. No, it's not about health care. That is a false claim, and everybody knows it. Everyone in America, and certainly everybody in this room, understands that this is about something else.
Yeah, we know it's about something else. And Maravita, I think this is actually what's happening. I'm using EVMux and not StreamYard, but it does have the same kinds of faults. So it's definitely muting me after we play clips. So I'm keeping an eye on it on this side now. So thank you very much for that. But Speaker Johnson's correct. I mean, Doge found, like all those people overseas, billions of dollars in Medicare and Medicaid going to ineligible people overseas. How does that happen? How does that happen? The level of fraud and corruption we have? And Mark Daly is correct. The GOP House has an excellent Johnson. It's a true story. It's a true story. I don't know, folks. It doesn't seem to get better. We seem to be talking about this over and over again. And it continues on. We're 35 days in. 35 days into a shutdown that never should have gotten to day 2, let alone day 1. Why did they shut down the government? To ransom their constituency. And it's not doing them any good. It's destroying the Democrats. It's destroying the Democrats' brand. It's destroying their party. It's driving them to the more extreme sides. And that's no good. It's no good for you and I. It's no good for them. It's no good for the future of this country. The most successful times that we have in this country is when we venture closer to the centers where we can shake hands and talk about things. It's how things get done. And Weatherman points out in the chat over on the Green Machine, there was over 1,000 people over 200 years old still on Social Security and still getting checks, which I don't know how is possible. Yeah, we can never forgive Doge's big balls, indeed. And we have to thank him. Not only that, he suffered for his job. He got his butt kicked. And look, no, if you're bringing in people to vote for you, first of all, they're illegal to begin with, crossing this into this country. So, if they do it more than once, by the way, they're now a felon. One time, you're a misdemeanor. More than twice when you're caught doing that, that's a felony. You can't vote if you're a felon unless you have your rights restored, and they didn't have any to begin with. I know that's hard to believe, other than human rights, but they don't have rights in this country under the Constitution. They don't qualify. And when I say that they're destroying their brand, I'm not alone. If you listen to the starting monologue of the show, CNN's polling guy, Harry Enton, he's been talking about this for quite some time now. And they don't have anybody as a front runner in their party. They have nobody out there that anybody would trust to be the leader of the free world. Don't, point at Gavin Newsom, because we're going to talk about how much a liar loves irony, not honesty. A liar loves irony, because Gavin Newsom saying that, you just sit there nodding your head watching a politician lie. He's the very definition of. But that's not important right now. What's important is what is the brand of the Democrats, aside from the party of crime and fraud. Tell me I'm wrong. Looking for the things they stand for. Mortgage fraud? Yeah. Illegal immigration? Yeah. Defund the police? Yeah. What do those planks look like on that platform? I don't know, but Harry Enton sure does, and he talks about it here in this clip from CNN.
Democrats at this point are historically divided. It is a complete and utter mess. It is messier than a hoarder's basement. What are we talking about here? The national early poll leader, 25% plus. Normally, that's where Democrats are. Biden was at 25% plus in 2020. Hillary Clinton was in 08 and 16. Gore was in 00 and 04. At this particular point, there is no one in the Democratic race for president who's polling at 25% plus. The water is quite warm. If you're a Democrat potentially thinking about running in 2028, jump right in, because at this point, there is no front runner.
What do you think? Is that because how people view the Democratic Party right now, is that contributing to this?
Yeah, I think that is in large part of what's going on, is one of the reasons why there is no front runner. Nobody wants to put anybody up at the top of their ballot list, is because at this particular point, the Democratic brand is in the basement. It is total and complete garbage in the mind of the American public. The Democratic Party's net favorable rating, record lows in all three. Wall Street Journal, 30 points underwater. CNN, 26 points underwater. Gallup, 26 points underwater. And that is being driven in large part by discontent within the Democratic base. The Democratic base wants something different. We'll ultimately end up seeing who they choose.
Yeah, we will see who they choose, but I don't think it's going to matter much because they are unpopular. You know, I use a lot of terms, and some people might think that I'm speaking in hyperbole. I'm not. What's the brand of the modern Democratic Party? Crime. And being caught up in the things, the very things that you have been accusing others of, which is an interesting form of projection that only aligns itself with politically compromised groups such as Marxism, socialism, the rules for radicals garbage. Okay. I mean, we've been seeing it for a long time, and we've been seeing it in very specific people, and Big Tish is in big trouble because even though what I'm about to show you is an opinion piece, it isn't wrong. Coming out of the Hill from Joe Burns, Letitia James' problems aren't just legal. No kidding. She's a credibility problem. This is a person who is the AG. This is an elected official who's been lying and breaking the law, kind of like James Comey. By the way, Comey's in big trouble. They dropped so much evidence on that guy's face today. There's a problem. Why he would ever be thinking about leaving a jail would be surprising to me. But the AG, Letitia James, built her reputation by prosecuting others. Now she's the one under indictment. That's obvious. But her troubles aren't just legal, they're political too. And I would agree with that wholeheartedly. As surprising as it may be, given New York's history as a blue state, and the New York attorney faces a far greater danger in the political arena than many pundits realize. You see, even if James beats the federal mortgage fraud charges, which she can't, too much overwhelming evidence, she may not survive the next election. New York's last elected a Republican as Attorney General in 1994. It undoubtedly remains a blue state, but it isn't as solidly in the Democrats' camp as it was a few years ago, based on the fact that President Trump, for instance, saw bigger electoral gains in the Empire State in 2024 than any other state. His vote total in New York City was the best for a Republican running for president since George H.W. Bush. Of course, he was former CIA. I wonder if he pulled in any favors. In her most recent election, Letitia James' margin of victory was comfortable, but was hardly impressive. She won by approximately 55% of the vote. This is down from her first election as Attorney General in 2018, when she had been able to garner more than 60% statewide. So she is declining, as are all Democrats, by the way. Elected Democrats have held rallies to show their support for the Attorney General, and James even had her best ever single day of fundraising since the indictment was handed down. Guys, do you think she's going to beat this? I don't think so. The 2026 election, she's got running mates Kathy Hochul and Comptroller Tom DiNapoli. But I don't feel like they're going to really want to have coattails for her. I could be wrong. James originally endorsed the mayoral candidacy of New York City Council Speaker Adrian Adams. That fell apart. But before the outcome of the Democratic mayoral primary had been finalized, she threw her support behind the socialist state assemblyman Zoran Mamdani. So she's a commie too, which means the rules don't apply to me. Again, this opinion piece is very well written on the Hill. You can go and pick it up from Joe Burns. But, I mean, is anybody surprised? I don't know. Let's see what you guys have to say for a few minutes. I am woefully sore in the vocal region because I have been talking for the better part of 9 hours today. So let's see what you've got. I think love is what you got. Said, remember that. Said, love is what I got. Hey, Gory-Eyed Beast in the house says, Bob wanted to be Dems leader. May as well. LOL. You know, he really was in a political mindset. He thought he could run and win the presidency on the back of his business acumen, except he doesn't have any. This is a man who went in the capital cities merger far too high from where he should have set, which was being, a halfway decent weatherman, because Bob Iger is a weatherman. And now he's just the purchaser in chief and destroyer in intent, because about a decade after Iger acquires you, you slowly die. Hence Star Wars and Marvel. And other things like Pixar. I mean, it's not just those two things. But thank you, Gory-Eyed Beast, for your super duper chat. Hey, Jackie Delaney says, didn't get my notifications that CC had started. Have to rewind to the end. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of technical difficulties in there, courtesy of EV Mux today. I'm going to get this figured out, folks. I will. I promise. I promise. I promise you I will. Oh, man. It doesn't get better. That's the biggest problem. Daily, I'm fighting for the ground to like, not freak out as hard as I normally would. But we've got people living on the public dole. I know that's an English term, the dole. Here in the States, it's we can use that term pretty well. But they're saying if they aren't getting their money, EBT users aren't getting their money, people are suggesting they just steal from the groceries. People are like showing examples of how to steal from the grocery. I find that detestable. Does that make me old-fashioned? I think it's not okay to steal. Is that me being old-fashioned? Maybe it is. I don't know. But the USDA talks about SNAP specifically, and I think it's fascinating. They're actually looking for people doing this kind of thing. Let's take a look at this and how corrupt the rolls are for SNAP. They're asking states to submit their rolls, and they're unhappy that those rolls, or I should say, some people are unhappy that those rolls will expose the illegal aliens that are on them. So let's take a look at what one of the leadership positions at the USDA is saying about this.
Day one of USDA, February 13th, is we sent letters to every governor in America being very clear that no illegal aliens can use SNAP. 0, 0, 0. We asked every state for the first time in history, and this was in February, to send us their data and let us, with DOJ and a war room, actually start going through this data to better understand how this explosion of SNAP benefits happened under Joe Biden. We increased almost 40% on this program in just a couple of years under the Biden administration. Of course, we know they were trying to buy the election, but that's a conversation for another time. And since we have asked for that data, 29 states have complied. Of course, almost all the red states, a couple of couple blue states too. But in that data, and I haven't talked about this yet publicly, in that data we've studied about $100 billion in spend. We have found thousands and thousands of illegal use of the EBT card. We have been moving people off of SNAP. We've got almost 700,000 people, I think, we've moved off just since the president took office. We've arrested about 118 people. So this has been ongoing. But, Rachel, to your point, what this conversation has allowed is a national spotlight on a broken and corrupt program. We found one guy in 6 different states getting a benefit. We found about 5,000 people that are dead who are still getting benefits. Like, it is time to drastically reform this program so that we can make sure that those who are truly needy, truly vulnerable, are getting what they need, and the rest of the corruption goes away and we can serve the American taxpayer.
Sounds like a noble effort. We'll have to see. But how far are you really truly going to get with something like this? Because you're having a lot of people pushing back against providing the data requested. I think the federal government needs to withhold funds if the states don't provide the information, like voter rolls that have been requested, to expose the people that are breaking the law to vote. Pilgrim Media in the house, says Chuck Shumer and Nancy float. Really? Does that mean they're a witch or not a witch? I don't remember my lore. I wonder what that is. We got a super chat here from One Dirty Bird saying, how the heck are we? No, you're just right. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go away for a quick moment, hopefully not be muted, and come right back with less stutter. So hang out, folks. I'll be right back after these messages. I'll be right back. I'm back. All right. And my voice is clear and strong. At least I hope so. Anyway. I just wanted you guys to see that. And then I wanted to follow up with one of these crazy people telling you to break the law to get your EBT and to steal. I'm not a big fan of this, guys. I think this is a big problem. I think we need to expose it. This is actually a reshare from my friend, That Star Wars Girl, who's been doing a lot of good work over on her channel. And, well, she's being a good mom, too. Let's just say thank you for that. But here's something crazy. Absolutely crazy. According to AMES, Real Ames, on November 2nd, EBT user tells other EBT users to just go to the grocery stores in white areas to steal and show them how it's done. I hope the right people see this and they cut off her EBT card indefinitely. That's the commentary there. I'm not saying that, but let's take a look at what this is and why this is. And I hate this when people are trying to get other people to commit crime.
Okay, so I'm like 10 minutes, 30 minutes maybe from my house. And I'm going to show y'all, if y'all don't get y'all EBT, what to do. Y'all think because for some reason that they watching y'all, they not watching y'all, they don't care. White people is not paying attention to y'all. I'm in the white neighborhood at their HEB and I'm gonna walk out with my groceries. Easy peasy. Nobody's looking at me. Nobody's paying attention to me. I got my basket full of stuff and I'm gonna just walk out. I'm gonna show y'all, but give me a minute. I gotta get some trash bags. Okay, y'all, this is everything I got. And this is the exit door. And as y'all can see, is not any of my people. And it's white people, they're not paying attention. Camera, yeah, but oh well. I got my stuff. So if they're taking y'all EBT, just go to the white neighborhood and get a basket full of groceries. Just like I did. Easy peasy. Oh, that's cute. And look. Ah! And look, nobody's chasing me. See, nobody's chasing me. I'm putting my stuff up like I paid for it.
She just filmed herself committing a crime and shared it with all of us. Does it seem like the cultural problems are more widespread than people talk about? You know, nobody was paying attention to her. You know, you always assume people are good. You can't anymore. And that's a hot mess. We're in a wild place, kids. We're in a wild place. And just because I promised it, I want to show you the biggest liar in politics. You already know his name. You know, you don't have to go to Cheers. Everybody knows his name. It's Gavin Newsom. It's gravelly, goo-loving Newsom. Or new scum, as a lot of people in California call him. But here's the liar himself. And catch the irony here. Catch the irony, because this is just incredible.
Nothing I dislike more than the politician that sits there and lies to you. And we all just sit there rolling our eyes going, give me a break.
You're right, Gavin. Give me a break. You know what? It's worth playing again. Let's do it one more time.
Nothing I dislike more than the politician that sits there and lies to you. And we all just sit there rolling our eyes going, give me a break.
Does he ever listen to what he says? Because he certainly doesn't act on what he says. He's so far away from the truth, it's staggering. Weatherman says if his lips are moving, he's lying. So true. Brian, good to see you. Gavin for Alcatraz. Oh, that'd be amazing. And we've got Tony Piacente. Good to see you, my friend, saying, so now we're paying for her groceries with higher prices instead of in taxes. Right. Yeah. And if she thinks nobody's paying attention to her now, which is probably true, security is going to review that footage, I imagine, and somebody will catch it, and then they'll be looking for her. And unfortunately, it might lead somebody who's a little more cognizant of color than they are of the actual face of somebody, might make a mistake because of her. Bruce Newhouse says, well, he wasn't sitting. I don't know if he was sitting. That was on Meet the Press. Can't answer that question. Good evening, Penny. Hope you're doing well. Andy Masterson's in the house, and so is Timmy. Timmy. Look up what Newscomb was doing while L.A. burned. I know that Karen Bass had run away to go on some foreign adventure she should not have been on. Why a mayor is going abroad outside of their constituency to do anything internationally is absolutely disgusting. Not a big fan of hers, I'm sure you can guess. But let's not get confused. Democrats are not known for telling the truth or, being able to avoid being delusional. I don't know. Got some wild stuff going on. I mean, you got the Harry Sissons of the world out there. You've got like real business issues out there in the world we should be paying more attention to. The only upside I can think of from the last week was the fact that the Supreme Court says that Trump can send the illegal gang members to prisons in El Salvador. That was the only positive thing I can recall at the moment. But there was some very positive things that happened, and one of them I want to share with you because I rarely get to share super good news. And this is something I want to share because it couldn't have happened to a nicer man. Somebody I think we all genuinely like, somebody who's entertained us for generations, and somebody who has a very logical and practical mind. Apparently, I need to check out some memes. I will try to take a look, people. This show's pretty packed, though, my friend, and I got to get to the polling place, get my vote in. So, Popsicle's in the house too. But you probably all heard that Scott Adams has been suffering with the same cancer that Joe Biden has, very advanced form of prostate cancer, one that is just absolutely ravaging his body, causing him pain on the daily. But what's amazing is what recently happened as Scott was suffering in a hospital bed. This particular message I want to share with you all, something good to think about.
I sort of reached the end of one rope, which was I wasn't sure I was getting any health care at all. I might have been. I still don't know. But what I don't know is if they'd even started the process to get me that potentially life-saving drug that I've been trying to get. And so I wrote a message saying that on Sunday, I wrote that I would be asking the president on Monday. Now, that would be today. But as you know, President Trump likes to do things ahead of schedule and better than you expected and ahead of schedule. What is it? Below budget, ahead of schedule. And I don't know who he talked to first, but I feel like a lot of things went in motion at the same time. So I was contacted by Don Jr., who was literally in Africa. He's in Africa on a Sunday, and Don Jr. is calling me and saying, "Leah, I'm on this. My father wants me to, get this done." Then Bobby Kennedy calls me. Like, what can I do? What's the situation? Dr. Oz calls me. Dr. Oz, what's the situation? How can I help? Oh my God. And then you may have seen that President Trump, best president ever, he posted my message to him that was on X yesterday. It was a public message. And he just said, on it, on it. He was so on it. Oh my God, was he on it? Anyway, it turns out that it turns out that nobody in senior management at Kaiser, my healthcare company, had a good weekend. They probably thought, It's nice to have a Sunday off for a change. They probably work pretty hard. I imagine they work pretty hard. And suddenly their entire Sunday is absorbed by this. Oh, I feel bad about it, but good about it because it might have saved my life.
Yeah, might have saved my life. I hope it does. I hope it does. We need more positive stories like that. At least in my estimation. I could be wrong. Maybe you don't agree. But I always think if you have the power to change somebody's life, you should. One of the guiding principles in my life. And with any of the works I've been involved in, works of charity, works of fellowship, if you have the power to change somebody's life, you should. So on that note, I need to fix my stutter. So bear with me a moment. I will be right back. And thank you, Weatherman, for letting me know that I was stuttering. I appreciate that. In case you hadn't heard yet, James Comey filed a motion to dismiss his case. That did not go well. In fact, in response to that was all the other evidence that's out there. And that includes many superseding indictments that will probably shortly arrive as well. So there you are. The world has some justice now. The problem is it's moving very slowly, which is sad. But at least we have good stories. And we have Tony Piacente out there, who, as I said before, was 100% right about this. Paying for higher prices for groceries isn't great. Deepol, enjoy some memes on X. I will be taking a look at those in just a minute, my friend. So we'll go from there. Let's see. I had something else I wanted to share with you. Some positive news. So as we've, it's really weird. We're at the second half of the show, and that's where all the positivity seems to be right now. You guys have noticed that both the UN and the EU came out on the same day trying to sell more climate garbage. And they've been selling it my whole life. Leonard Nimoy on a program called Nova tried to tell me we were headed into an ice age when I was a very young boy. Every few years I hear we're going to be completely underwater. Florida will be underwater. The coastline will be under several feet of water. All those rich people's houses will be gone. Your beaches will be gone. All these terrible, horrendous things that never happen. Never realize. And then were never true to begin with. And the myth has been called out most recently by the seller of the myth, the most aggressive seller of the myth, Bill Gates recently. We talked about that on Thursday, but it's good to know that we're abandoning a terrible energy policy for one that's much, much more aggressive in producing energy. And I think that's a good thing. In fact, let me share with you a video that gives you a pretty good idea of what is occurring now, because I think it's important. Here we go.
Conversations are going great in this part of the world, in the Middle East, with President Trump, with his amazing historic visit here in May, and then followed up with the incredible historic visit when he was here a couple weeks ago for the hostage release and the ceasefire. President Trump, the United States, President Trump, like say we're the hottest country, but in the world here, when you're in the Gulf region, you can really feel that. These these countries here are on the cutting edge. They're so thrilled to have the United States back in the game on a game of energy abundance and energy growth, as opposed to following some European model of trying to shut down all the traditional forms of energy. And under President Trump, he said, drill, baby, drill. In July, the United States set a record on oil production, 13.6 million barrels a day. There'll be new records set going forward. And the U.S. a year ago, it was just this week a year ago, when President Trump was winning his re-election, under President Biden, we had a moratorium on LNG export facilities. This year, U.S. #1 exporter in the world of LNG, and our exports up 25%. We're the world's largest. We're up 25% over a year ago under President Trump. That's a reflection of entrepreneurs, innovators, the private sector in the United States investing tens of billions of dollars in LNG export facilities. That is helping all of the EU, all of the European countries fulfill their plan to get off of buying Russian gas by end of 2026. So again, energy diplomacy is working. President Trump knows how to use it to end wars. He knows how to use it to bring prosperity at home as well as peace abroad.
Drill, baby, drill. Sound apology. Sound policy. I don't know what that other word was, but very sound policy. And I'll just tell you, we need to fill up our energy grid, and there's no way to do that through the supplemental ideas that are out there right now. They might come along and do better, and that would be great. But for the time being, we have energy abundance, and we will move that forward. Your gas prices will continue to go down. That's the plan. And as energy prices go down, so do the prices of moving everything everywhere and the production costs of things. Could you imagine that the farmers don't have to spend as much money maintaining their fields and their equipment and paying for the operational costs of the ways to get you your food, et cetera, et cetera? Abundant energy and cheap energy makes everything operate more efficiently and better. I think you all know that. I think everybody does. And I think that the salesmanship of the charlatans out there has been found lacking, finally. It only took 5 decades, my entire lifetime. But we finally arrived at something that was sound. Been a while. And congratulations, Tony Piacente, on your finally getting your relocation to Florida. But last and not least, this is one for the record books as far as I'm concerned. People are starting to acknowledge that by removing people who are not here legally, it's having another positive effect on the economy and on our country. Homan was on TV again on Fox just a day or so ago, and gave us some interesting updates and facts. Yeah. Weatherman calls out the episode that I was 8 years old, The Coming Ice Age with Leonard Nimoy. Yep. It was wild. I didn't think that Leonard Nimoy would lie to me. I think our poor understanding of the cyclical nature of weather is a major contributor. They can sell you about anything. And I knew this was a complete game of garbage because for her entire lifetime, it seems, Greta Thunberg kept having to reset her dates of when the world was end and when the point of no return was and everything else. Anyway, let's get to this last clip of video I have for you guys, where looks like we're going to add potentially 10,000 ICE agents. I don't know. Let's take a look at what Border Czar Tom Homan had to say on Fox and Friends.
We got to look for that 10.5 million illegal aliens that came across that border. We got to look at that's in addition to 15 million already here. So now the roles change. Now Border Patrol is backstopping ICE on the interior. It's working. Record numbers of removals, arrests. Right now we already have a record number, historic number of arrests and removals this fiscal year, and we'd bring on 10,000 more agents by mid-January. And we're going to blow this historic number out of the water next year. So everything's working good. It's still under the leadership of acting director Todd Lyons, under the leadership of Secretary Noem. The results speak for themselves. The agents out there doing what President Trump promised he'd do is make his country safe again.
That's a lot of information right there. It's a lot of information. So progress, when it comes to removing the criminal alien problem exacerbated by the previous administration to over 10.5 million additional humans in a country that didn't want them, need them, and has no desire to support them on the social safety nets. By the way, I think that you should be blocked here forever if you ever cross the border illegally. I think you should not be afforded the opportunity to ever become a citizen because you jumped in front of a lot of people who fought really hard to get here and do it the right way. And that's the only way to do it. Truly. One final note, the last video of the day is something I found amusing from Bill Maher's show. A conversation with, somebody who had lost their mind for a long time, Michael Rappaport. You guys remember him? He was an actor. He's kind of funny, but he's not the most bright person in the world. It took him a minute to catch up with where everybody else was. And he did in a very recent Bill Maher podcast show, Club Random. And this is actually, you can go find this on the internet if you want to. Jason Cohen out there he's a journo in DC. He grabbed this and it's pretty good. He lays it out and says to Bill Maher how how unsafe New York City feels. And Rappaport says, I want people to feel safe in New York City. I want my wife to feel safe. My wife is a tough broad. She doesn't feel safe in Midtown Manhattan during the day. I wouldn't. Maher says, really? Rappaport says, my wife in the last 2 to 3 years has been groped in Times Square, has had a shoe thrown at her, has been called the N-word, and got proposed to on the train by a homeless person, all between 11 and 3 p.m., 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., so in the middle of the day. I don't care that you're freaking homeless. Don't touch my freaking wife. I want this person to be put the freak away forever, period. And there's an other women in New York City that also feel uncomfortable and unsafe. I'm comfortable saying, put him under the freaking jail, and he should never come out, because God forbid he comes out and does something worse. And that's the biggest problem, right? And this is the clip. It's 3 minutes long. I'm going to share it with you in little tidbits, so I can make comments on it and, make this a commentary on this.
I want people to feel safe in New York City. I want my wife to feel safe. My wife is a tough broad. She doesn't feel safe in Midtown Manhattan during the day.
Yeah. And look, that's a problem, right? In the biggest city, environment you could be in the States, New York City, Midtown Manhattan. Goodness.
Really? Yeah. And my wife, really, she's
like,
not.
You're like going out for lunch.
Like going out for lunch? I couldn't imagine. Oh, thank you, Maravita. I will check.
I'm not saying she's like fucking shaking in her boots, but my wife in the last 2-3 years has been groped.
Yeah, this is exactly. Dude Bro Seth brings up Kasparian. And yeah, she doesn't feel safe. The defund the police crowd, those are Democrats. Those are the socialists. You know what? I don't even have to play through this clip. I've already basically read it. You know what he's going to say, and he's right. And this is a huge problem. When somebody who had TDS so bad that he just threw all kinds of shade and threats and everything else out there, and now his head's turned completely around, and Bill Maher is talking to him, who's also kind of seeing some of the light out there. It's a thing. Speaking of a thing, Maravitas has checked Discord. Okay, I will check it. And it's going to take a minute for that to boot up. I didn't get a chance to boot it up at all today. And Putin's cat, you're correct. Cities have more crime than rural. Yeah, that's why I don't go downtown. Yeah, I get it. I get it. And of course, Maravita for $5 more. I thought you were going to bed, sweetheart. Says, for everyone who says illegals don't take our jobs, they certainly do. Entire construction crews have been caught being being illegal and working for a company. I'm surprised the general contractor isn't losing their contractor license. And by the way, sanctuary cities are illegal, just in case anybody was wondering. So I'm waiting for Discord to show up on my screen. There we go. I'm agreeing to their new policies. Yay, super fun. I'm trying to find. Oh, thank you, Maravita. I will grab this. Copy text. Thank you very much. Very, very thoughtful. Maravita, you will never know. All right, let's see if I can get this out there for everybody else. Please bear with me. By the way, the Erica Kirk story about Jimmy Kimmel / apology, wild sauce. Wild sauce. You can go read about that on That Park Place. Beautiful story over there. Beautiful. All right, let's take a look at this particular story. And this will blow your mind, folks. This one blew my mind when it was happening in real time. Let's share it out there. You guys remember this guy? The illegal that ended up being in charge of a school district, a superintendent with not a doctorate? Yeah, so apparently ICE releases new information on extensive criminal history of illegal alien Ian Roberts, who was working as Iowa school superintendent. And apparently the chick that was in charge of this whole situation knew that he wasn't a doctor. Sheesh. So they released this. And when ICE officials approached Roberts, he identified himself, then sped off, abandoned his vehicle, and hid in a bushy area about 200 meters away, where ICE officers located him with the help of Iowa State Patrol officers. At the time of arrest, a loaded handgun, hunting knife, and $3,000 in cash were found in his vehicle. On October 2, he was charged with being an illegal alien in possession of a firearm, which is a no-no. Robert's rap sheet and immigration history reveal a long record of criminal conduct in the United States. He should never have been serving in a role overseeing children in Iowa's largest school district. His criminal record includes the following. In 1996, July 3, charges for criminal possession of narcotics with intent to sell, criminal possession of narcotics, criminal possession of a forgery instrument, and possession of a forged instrument in New York. That should have got him out of here fast. In November 13 of 98, he charged for third-degree unauthorized use of a vehicle in Queens, New York, which was dismissed apparently in July 6 of 99. In November 1, 2012, a conviction for reckless driving, unsafe operation, and speeding in Maryland. In 2020, February 3, charges for second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, having a loaded firearm outside his home or business, third-degree criminal possession of a weapon and ammunition feeding devices, and fourth-degree weapon charges. A document from February 4, 2020 indicates that the second-degree criminal possession charge was inchoate. January 20, 2022, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania convicted Roberts of unlawful possession of a loaded firearm. This guy loves guns. He loves them. 2025, on September 26, Roberts was arrested with a Glock 9mm and a fixed blade hunting knife in his possession. He also had $3,000 in cash. We just talked about that. In October 2, Roberts was criminally charged with being an illegal alien in possession of firearms. Good gracious. Roberts' immigration history includes 2 visas, 4 green card applications and subsequent denials, and several trips. Look at all of this stuff, guys. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. This guy's basically a felon already for illegally entering the States twice. Wow. Thank you for that, Maravita. Super crazy. Not surprising, though. And that's one of the many problems we're dealing here with in the United States right now. And we shouldn't be. We absolutely shouldn't be. Oh, Maravita says, I am in bed. All right. Well, I'm just trying to look out for you, Maravita. I'm just trying to look out for you. It's part of my job as the host here. Davina, it's great to see you. Wasn't it Seth Rogen who said having your car broken into is normal? Yeah, that guy's a freak show. Sometimes it's hard to ignore stupidity. I'm trapped in this world, my friends. All right, before I say goodbye, I'm going to reboot one more time because I'm stuttering like crazy. But yeah, we're in a strange world right now, kids. We truly are. Anyway. But you guys need the opportunity to enjoy a little AOAO on the way out. I voted today, 50K, go culture, go. Thank you, SFXF 314 Sabertooth Raptor. Everybody, if you have the ability to vote, and you can do so legally, do it. Do it. Do it till you're satisfied, whatever it is. Anyway, please do that. And don't forget, 35 days in, and we're still being held hostage by Democrats. The Schumer shutdown is real, all because he's getting an end around from the extreme left side of his party. He and that Hakeem Jeffries sombrero-loving freak show. And on that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, hopefully I'll see you on Thursday. See ya. Oh, go check out Marvin's show tonight. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me fucked up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll play it on your face to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you go wish you would shut the fuck up real bad. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. I don't fucking take smoke, I'ma poke a hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude, crack your holder too. Heating up inside inside of me, blood so violently, thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes a dynasty.